Magisnaxili squeeze samko tel smiltami kinlim patiapap nalasokal. Sama squeeze Marlene Squawk, and I do language and culture for School District 23. And on behalf of our host chiefs, Byron Lewis of the Okanagan Indian Band and Rob Louie of the West Bank First Nation, I welcome you to our territory for this non-instructional day to learn about the First Peoples principles of learning and to incorporate the big ideas to learn and understand about the First Nations people of this territory. All my relations.
Often, when there is a significant change in education, the emphasis turns to resources. It is natural to want to figure out what media, books, and human resources will support learning, especially new learning. We hope that these resources will support the practices we wish to adopt, and that these practices, in turn, will shape our beliefs. But we know now, from the work of educators like Regi Routman, that this is backwards. Our practices are our beliefs in action. So if we don't begin with our beliefs, we won't realize the full potential of this redesigned curriculum. We need to begin with our beliefs if we truly want to imagine how education might look different in BC. And we will do this together. It may be that we begin by starting small and making our beliefs visible to each other. We might do this with one trusted colleague, a group, or even a full staff. We may not have our beliefs fully formed yet, even though they may be intuitive or in our gut. It is not about knowing the answers right now. It's about uncovering the answers together. And this concept fully connects to our First Peoples principles of learning, including the principles we will unpack today.
Hello, I'm Amber Cardenas and I work for School District 23 for the Aboriginal Education. I'm also a member of the Okanagan Nation from Penticton.
I'm Roxana Robbins. I'm a teacher on call. I'm working with the Aboriginal Education Department. I am from the Okanagan Indian Band in Vernon.
You as the teacher don't have all the answers. Students, you want to honor their questions
and realize that they have a background when they're coming into a classroom, that they have a whole lot of information and a whole lot of experience in their own lives.
An example of relating holistic and reflexive is having them bring a question forward to you, and maybe you as the educator takes that question, brings it forward to the whole class or in a subject, and honoring that, but also letting the students explore it, and how that could be holistic is them thinking critically about their question, and relating to one another, but also taking that home and bringing it back in the classroom, because learning is not only happening in the classroom, it's happening with them every day.
Our learning is always changing. And as students are acquiring more knowledge or their life experiences are growing, there's always opportunities, even if it's a quick check, for them to understand how are they interpreting questions, or how are they looking at their own learning, which is a big part of us having a conversation with ourselves. And for students to be learning this at an early age is really important.
So kids learn through experience. That experience doesn't necessarily always need to be in an educational setting, such as in a classroom, but relating to a sense of place. So not only do we learn from books or just from a classroom or just from a smartboard, it's being out in that land and that place-based knowledge, because for Indigenous people, they've survived thousands of years in a place, knowing that valley, knowing this water here is fresh, this water here is not good, or these animals migrate here, and all of that. Us as educators and the students as learners, we create those relationships. So it's creating that relationship with that classroom, and it's going to change year to year because you're going to have a new classroom, but it's that relationship that you have with your learners and with those children that you create a safe place of learning, the experiential learning, and the holistic approach, but also a sense of place.
The knowledge that we share with them and the energy that they give back to us being part of our learning circle, that as a teacher or as a parent, you know, we're teaching our children how to, you know, new things, whether it's physical, like how to cook or whatever. And the reciprocation part of that is we're watching them learn, but they're also giving back. So it becomes a two-way cycle or two-way knowledge. And that's what, to me, that's what the reciprocal part of it is, and the connections that we build.
How time and place. Traditionally for Indigenous people, it wasn't necessarily, you know, we had knowledge of this place, but we weren't in classrooms, we had these time constraints. It was, you know, we went by seasons and migration patterns and, you know, gathering food. So education traditionally for Indigenous people considered of gathering food and ceremonies and making sure that we had what we needed. And our teachers then would be our mom, dad, aunts, uncles, elders.
Well, in a classroom, we're often rushed for time. We're always watching the clock. We have 40-minute blocks, or you know, we need to break it into 20-minute blocks, and it gets very rushed for a teacher. And I think that if we don't get to everything, it's okay. It's okay if the children are getting the big understanding, because you're giving them the time that they need to process things.
Strengthening our relationships with each other, our students, and our community is integral to a successful learning journey. Through knowing and understanding our community, we can come to understand ourselves and our practice. By exploring the redesigned curriculum and reflecting upon our community's experiences with learning, we can better see future pathways to success. We know that we are all at different places on this journey, and therefore we have much to learn from each other. Let's find out how the competencies and First Peoples principles of learning are already impacting our classrooms and our students.
It might be scary at first because it's not what we're used to or what they necessarily are used to, but it'll get easier as time goes on.
I think that having the core competencies makes me more conscious of certain things that we've already been doing. They make me feel that I am developing the students more in a holistic way, so that I'm developing them as helping them to develop as people that will succeed in our society, not just as students.
I'd say it's about the process. It's about the processes that make the learning happen. It's where the growth happens. It's not just end tasks. It's where things are built over time, where you can learn to be creative, where you can learn to think better.
It's our opportunity to provide the students with lifelong skills of communication, creative and critical thinking, while engaging them and encouraging them to make sure that the decisions that they make are responsible choices for themselves, their family, and their community, and essentially for society as a whole.
The competencies mean to me an opportunity for our students to really engage with the curriculum. It's not so much about them just acquiring the knowledge, but really living it, making it real for them, and applying those skills in real life.
Alors les compétences pour le programme d'études qui sort maintenant, ce qui est intéressant, c'est que tout est intégré et que l'apprentissage se passe en spirale et que l'individu peut se développer individuellement.
And it's something that I wish that I had when I was a student, because I'm not the best speaker. So I would have loved to had the opportunity to be pushed a little bit more in that area. I always used to think that, well, what about the shy kids? And, you know, what if they prefer to work alone and not in a group? But now I see that that's something they need to work on, just like math or any other subject. It's a skill that shouldn't be passed over just because of their personality. It's something that they should try to develop.
The knowledge and skills are domain specific. Every other area actually is transferable. And for me, it's what makes the competencies in this document, in the BCE document, so powerful. It's the idea that we are developing the whole human being, with in mind that only a few aspects of what we are teaching are content specifics, knowledge-based, skill-based. All the other dimensions can be transferable to any other domain or area of thinking and doing things.
Since these new core competencies might not be as neat as the checklists that we've been dealing with in terms of prescribed learning outcomes, in a way they're more simple, in a way they're more complex, they're more comprehensive. I think of them almost like the equivalent of the universal truths or values in education. And so I would assure parents, if I was talking to them, that we're tending to the really important things, and that includes the development of the individual as part of a comprehensive education of the whole person.
It deals a lot with the attributes and the 21st century skills that we've been teaching them already, so I think it really prepares kids for life outside school and jobs after that.
But I think this is where the action in teaching is happening, and I'm convinced that this is where we need to be spending our time to make stronger, deeper understanding kids. There's some questions with this. How do we assess and encourage this? But it's the right question. It's great for the kids, and it's really good for us as teachers to be developing and asking these sort of questions too.
I have a favorite, and I don't know if that's allowed, but I really enjoy working on the creative thinking competency. And so there's different ways that we can define creativity, and I'll share that definition with my students. And then we look at the different ways that we can incorporate creative activities into our lessons. It's been really fun.
Let's say you're weaving a basket, and one strand of that is of Indigenous knowledge, and all these subjects. It's as simple as that, just weaving in that little piece that can connect a student and a person to a place and what it means, or little things that it means.
The competencies help me focus on the process of learning rather than just the content or the final product. This increased metacognition has enabled the students to better articulate their successes and future goals. The I can statements are now more about pride than just a mark.
Personal and social awareness and responsibilities are ways that we can help coach our students to be able to take care of themselves, as well as to be positive contributors with others and in society. Personally and socially, we are all continually growing, and this process is very fluid. Giving students opportunities to reflect will be the key factor in contributing to growth within this competency.
My goal is also to continue to provide students with multiple opportunities to make connections and think critically about what all of the scientific discoveries and inventions have done, both positively and negatively, to change the world and our lives. With this, our students will be better able to make positive decisions about themselves, their community, and ultimately our planet.
I like that phrase. It's been used quite a bit. We move from being the sage on the stage to the guide on the side. And I think that is the best way to prepare kids for the future. How are they going to work together? How are they going to solve the problem? So we give them the driving questions. We enjoy learning with them as they support one another and learn the content. And I think that's key too. Content is still very rich, very rigorous, very deep. Nothing has changed with that, certainly in my curriculum that I'm looking at. But what's changed is that the students, I guess you're partnering more with the students as they explore and own their learning.
Recently I piloted a non-fiction unit with my grade 12 classes. I largely focused on the personal and social competencies, as they are the ones that are most new to me. What I found was that it drastically increased student engagement as they felt it was relevant and they became personally invested in the material. I also found it was a much more holistic way to teach. By focusing on positive personal and cultural identity, social responsibility, and personal awareness and responsibility, students were able to connect with the material and bring together various facets of their learning and identity.
The redesigned curriculum has allowed me to ease off the overwhelming content tsunami and focus more on the skills and competencies. I've been able to create activities that are both experiential in nature and also more relevant to the learner. The result has been an increased engagement and more creative and innovative demonstrations of their learning. To me, the redesigned curriculum has been freeing.
The students know that after a lesson has been given, they will be given a performance task, and the performance task will have a rubric attached to it, and this rubric will be assessing whether they can critically think on this task, whether they can communicate properly, or whether they've done enough proficient research for this task. And the task will always be related to a target, which will be related to the outcome for the unit.
Responsibility. And in kindergarten, we do all of those things all day long. And it is extremely important that we incorporate fun and play and all the things that show excitement and joy and a love for learning, because this is where it all starts. And so this is where we want to have a great, big, lovely foundation so that we can build on it throughout the years of their learning.
I'm really excited about core competencies. I'm really excited that they're kind of embedded throughout the curriculum. They're not just in one subject area. So I'm looking forward to working on it more.
Knowing that learning involves patience and time for the students we work with is something we must also know to be true for ourselves. As we start to dig deeper into the redesigned curriculum, it will be important to learn and grow together. The most valuable resource that all teachers have is each other. Without collaboration, our growth is limited to our own perspectives. Supporting each other today and from this point forward will enrich our understanding and our ability to implement the redesigned curriculum. Before you begin your learning today, we invite you to take a moment to reflect, discuss, and respond to these prompts.